Hello and welcome to Current Affairs for Beginners. First, let us see answers for the questions from a Saturday's video. The first one is, who among the following is the adjudicating authority for insolvency resolution in case of corporates as per the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? The answer here is National Company Law Tribunal. It is C. In case of individuals, then the answer would be the Debt Recovery Tribunal. And the next one is, ease of doing business is published by which among the following? The answer is D. It is the World Bank. And dear students, one of the student has asked me a doubt in our comment section that regarding this insolvency resolution, we have told that India has improved its rank to 103. See, World Bank releases this ease of doing business report and rankings were based on 10 parameters. Among them, one is insolvency resolution, resolving insolvency. Under this particular parameter, the rank of India is 103 in 2018, whereas the overall ranking is 77. So this is what we have told. Hope your doubt has got cleared. And these are the mains questions. Try to answer these questions and post your answers in our www.civilsprep.com website. These are all the topics that we are going to cover in our today's video. And dear students, if you want to access any of the topic, in our description bar from Saturday onwards, we have started providing all the topics and also their timings. So that if you want to know only about this Right to Education Act, here we will provide you the time in the description bar. Then you can directly forward your video to this particular article. And dear students, we are extremely sorry for delaying our Saturday's notes. From today onwards, it will not repeat and you can access the notes. Instead of going to our civilsprep website, you can download our notes from our description bar itself. Notes for this particular video. And from today onwards, we'll be uploading the video before 6 p.m. daily so that you can access our core video notes along with the video by 6 in the evening. Now let us start our session. The first one is Islam in India influenced by Sufism Bhakti movement. This article comes under GS paper 1 under the topic of history. From this article, now we are going to see about this Sufi movement and Bhakti movement. Before going into our discussion, first let us see a previous year question from 2010 prelims. This is the question regarding the Bhakti movement. Among the following, who was not a proponent of Bhakti cult? Try to answer these questions, students. I have provided this question along with the answer in our core notes. And tomorrow again we'll see answer for this question. So now, what could be the reason for why these socio-religious reform movements were given this much importance in our Indian history? Why? Why the socio-religious reform movements were given this much importance in the Indian history? See, if we see in the ancient India, we have these heterodox movements like Jainism, Buddhism. And when we come to medieval India, we had these Bhakti and Sufi movements. Whereas in the modern times, we have these socio-religious reform movements. These movements have a great and wider impact on our society. They bring in dynamic changes into the social functioning, in the societal functioning. Among these, now we are going to see about this Bhakti and Sufi movements of medieval India. First, let us start with Bhakti movement. Who was the founder of this Bhakti movement? It is Shankaracharya. He founded this Bhakti movement in the 9th century AD. What are the reasons, what are the causes for the rise of this Bhakti movement? The first reason is the existence of the then social evils like the rigidity of caste system, irrelevant rituals, religious practices, blind faiths and social dogmas are all these. And the next reason is, and some other causes were like challenges from the rival religions and the impact of Muslim rule. These were all the reasons which gave rise to this Bhakti movement. And if we say some of the features of this Bhakti movement, they believed in monotheism. They believed that there is only one God. And one of the prominent features of this Bhakti movement is devotion to God. They believe that this devotion towards God is the only means to attain salvation. And this Bhakti movement has advocated the need of a guru whom they thought he could alone show the path of light to reach the proper destination. And the most important thing of this Bhakti movement is equality of men or universal brotherhood was the philosophy of this Bhakti cult. And this Bhakti movement has condemned ritualism and it has strongly denounced image worship, false practices, blind faiths and dogmas. It has condemned the ritualism. If you see some of the Bhakti proponents, they were like Ramanuja, Ramananda, who was the first Bhakti saint and founder of this Bhakti movement in northern India. And Kabir, Guru Nanak, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vallabhacharya, Mirabai, Raidas, like that. The next thing is Sufism. This Sufism has entered India in the 12th century with the Muslim invaders and it has become popular in the 13th century. If you see some of the features of this Sufi movement, it has synthesized a variety of ideas and practices from Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism and Zoroastrianism. It mainly aimed at the service of mankind through spiritual self-development. And it has shown importance for Hindu-Muslim unity and cultural synthesis. The Sufism has opposed to orthodoxy. It has opposed orthodoxy and preached faith and devotion to God. It has opposed the materialistic life, and the Sufism was organized in different orders which were also known as silsilas. These Sufi orders were divided into two types. One is Ba-Shahara and the other one is Ba-Shahara for the ones who followed the Islamic law, whereas the other one is Be-Shahara. These are those for who are not bound by Islamic law. And yes, students, try to answer these two questions also. This question, with reference to religious history of medieval India, the Sufi mystics were known to pursue which of the following practices? This is the question that appeared in 2012 prelims. And consider the following Bhakti saints. Who among the above was or were preaching when the Lodi dynasty fell and Babur took over? Dear students, based on our analysis on previous year mains questions, we tried to frame a question: to what extent Bhakti and Sufi movements of medieval India tried to instill the ideas of humanism in the Indian society? Dear students, try to answer this question and you can write your answer even in our comment section. Please come up with your new ideas and new ways of approaching this answer and we'll try to help you. The next one is Supreme Court respond to plea against wiretapping. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, now we are going to see about two things. One is, what is this section 69 of Information Technology Act of 2000? This particular act will grant powers to the central government or state governments or any authorized agencies under the government to issue directions for blocking of public access to any information through any computer resource. To put it simply, it will allow the government to block any website if it feels it is necessary to invoke this section 69. And some of the grounds based on which this section 69 will be invoked is to promote sovereignty and integrity of India, and in case of defense of India and security of state, and in maintaining friendly relations with foreign states, and to maintain the public order and to prevent any incitement of committing any cognizable offences. Based on these grounds, this section 69 will be invoked by the government. And from this article, now we are going to see about another topic known as Right to Information Act of 2005. First of all, what is meant by right to information? It is freedom of people to have access to the government information. That means the citizens and the non-governmental organizations, they can have free access to all the files and documents that were related to the government's operations, decisions and performance. Though this provision of right to information is not available in the Constitution, the Supreme Court since 1975, it has been stating that this right to information is an intrinsic part of two fundamental rights that were guaranteed by the Constitution. They are Article 19 that deals with right to freedom of speech and expression, and Article 21 which deals with right to life and personal liberty. So recognizing the need for setting out a practical regime for securing of information by the citizens from public authorities and to promote transparency and accountability in the working of all the public authorities, the Parliament has enacted Right to Information Act in 2005. This is a very comprehensive law and it covers disclosure of information on almost all the matters of governance. And this particular law is applicable to government at all levels, that is central, state and local levels, and also to the bodies that were owned, controlled and financed by the government. And this act has provided for the establishment of Central Information Commission and also State Information Commissions to implement the provisions under this act. This Central Information Commission will take up the complaints and appeals in case of offices, financial institutions, public sector undertakings that were under the control of central government and union territories, whereas the State Information Commission will take up the complaints and appeals from the offices and financial institutions, public sector undertakings that were under the control of state government. And both these commissions will provide or they will publish an annual report based on the implementations of this act. The next article is 7 northeastern states lag behind in toilets for schoolgirls. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. First, let us see about a topic known as Right to Education Act of 2010. This Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act was enacted to implement a constitutional provision under Article 21A. So this act provides for free and compulsory education to all the children in the age of 6 to 14 years. And what we need to note down from this article is we should know some statistics which we can use in our mains answers or while writing an essay. And in mains it will be useful for GS1, especially the society part. Under a topic known as role of women, there we can use this statistics while talking about women educational status. What are the possible reasons for decreasing enrollment ratio? So we can quote this ACER report, Annual Status of Education Report Statistics. So here it was given that there are 7 northeastern states who are lagging behind in toilets for schoolgirls, which is a prerequisite for increasing the girl ratio, enrollment ratio for female children in schools. The next article is Removing the Roots of Farmers' Distress. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, now we are going to see about 4 things. One is what is this MSP, and we'll see about this Consumer Price Index. And also there is a mention of 2 state schemes here. One is Rythu bandhu scheme and the other one is KALIA scheme of Odisha government. First, let us see about this minimum support price. It is the price at which the government will purchase the produce or the output from farmers based on the price that was set by the government prior to sowing season. Even before sowing, the government will announce a minimum support price to purchase the produce from the farmers in case if there is any market price changes in the market after the harvest. So in the market post harvest, if the prices of the particular crop has gone down below the minimum support price that was announced by the government, even then the government will purchase the produce from the farmers at the prior fixed rate. And who will decide this minimum support price? It is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs which will decide this minimum support price. Based on whose recommendation? It is the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, which functions under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare. It is this commission which will decide this minimum support price and recommend it to the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. This commission will decide this minimum support price based on 3 costs of production. The first one is A2. This is the actual paid out cost. That means it will include the expenditure incurred by the farmers to purchase seeds, fertilizers, to hire the labor and lease the land. And the other one is A2 plus FL. It is the actual paid cost plus the value of family labor, because even the family of the farmer will also be participating in this agricultural activities. Even their labor will also be calculated. And the other component is known as C2 component. It is the comprehensive cost which includes rent of the owned land and the interest on the owned capital, which means the agricultural land will obtain some rent. If it is given for lease, that will be calculated, and also the interest on the investment, that is the capital invested for doing this agricultural activity by the farmer, that also will be calculated. Based on all these costs of production, the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices will decide a minimum support price and it will recommend it to the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. The next one is Consumer Price Index. It is the index which shows inflation rate, that is the final prices of goods at the retail level, that is at the individual level. The index that shows inflation rate at individual level is known as Consumer Price Index. The number of items in the CPI basket include 448 in case of rural areas, whereas it is 460 in case of urban areas. And in order to cover different socio-economic groups in the economy, our India is using 4 consumer price indices. They are CPI for industrial workers, CPI for urban non-manual employees, CPI for agricultural laborers, and Consumer Price Index for rural workers. In India, RBI uses the Consumer Price Index combined, that is for all, which is released by Central Statistics Office for measuring the inflation. And the base year that is based on which the CPI is calculated is 2012. So if we put this simply, here we said that this Consumer Price Index will indicate the average change in the prices of commodities at the retail level or individual, as it is focusing on change in the prices of the goods that were purchased by the consumers. And it will cover not only goods but it will also cover services. And the measurement of inflation based on the CPI will be at the final stage of transaction. That means it is going to check what is the change, average change in the prices. So the CPI will measure the inflation at the final stage of transaction, and it will be published by the Central Statistics Office. And one more thing is, at present in India we are not measuring this non-manual employees data. And this first one, CPI for industrial workers and agricultural laborers, whether that is rural laborers, it is compiled by the and released by the Labor Bureau in the Ministry of Labor and Employment. And this third one, that is CPI of rural or urban or combined, it will be released by the Central Statistics Office in the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Now let us see about this Rythu Bandhu scheme of Telangana. This is a investment support scheme. So just now we have seen about this minimum support price which will be provided to the farmers post harvest by purchasing their produce by the government. Whereas instead of providing the support to the farmers post harvest, here Telangana government has come up with a new scheme known as Rythu Bandhu scheme, where they want to give support to the farmers at the investment level itself. So this government is going to provide every beneficiary farmer with 4,000 rupees per acre to meet the major part of the farmer's expenses on purchasing seeds, fertilizers, pesticides and field preparation. And the next one is this KALIA scheme by the Odisha government. What is this KALIA? Krishak Assistance for Livelihood and Income Augmentation Scheme. This is an Odisha government scheme in order to provide financial assistance to the farmers for taking up cultivation, and the amount they are going to provide is 10,000 rupees, which will be divided between two seasons, 5,000 in Kharif season and 5,000 in Rabi season. And under this scheme, here the assistance is also being provided to the farmers who cannot take up cultivation due to their old age or disability or disease or any other reasons. And the scheme has also a component for livelihood support to the landless households. So all the targeted beneficiaries under this scheme will be identified and selected by the Grama Panchayats. And here the target is to cover nearly 10 lakh households within 2 years in order to alleviate poverty and help or to provide financial assistance to the farmers for taking up the cultivation. These are the two main objectives of this scheme. Dear students, try to answer this question. It indicates the average change in the prices of commodities at the retail level and it measures inflation at the final stage of transaction. Which of the following refers to the above? And here we have given you one mains question. What do you mean by minimum support price and how MSP rescue the farmers from low income trap? This is the 2018 mains question in GS paper 3. The next one is model for malaria control. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of science, and it will also come under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance, and the subtopic is issues related to health. So from this article, now we are going to see about a new initiative known as DAMaN Initiative taken up by the Odisha government to control malaria in India. It is a new malaria control program by the Odisha government. How it is going to control means this program has some steps, like it includes mass screening for malaria with treatment of positive cases. They are going to screen and they are going to provide treatment for malaria affected people. And the government is going to intensify the surveillance, that is going to monitor this malarial issue. And they are going to take up some malarial control measures and regular health education activities throughout the year. These are the 4 steps through which the Odisha government is trying to alleviate malaria in Odisha. The next article is high use of input credit under taxman scam. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, now we are going to see about a concept known as input tax credit. The meaning of this input tax credit can be easily understood when we take these words input and tax credit separately. See, input are the materials or the services that a manufacturer will purchase in order to manufacture his product or services, which is his output. For example, let us take A as a manufacturer of shirt. And this manufacturer A will purchase raw material in order to manufacture a shirt, which is his output. So input means the raw material to manufacture his output called shirt. So now tax credit means the tax a producer was able to reduce while paying his tax on his output. While paying his tax on this shirt, there will be a reduction in the tax. This amount is known as tax credit. So to put it together, input tax credit means when a manufacturer pays the tax on his output, he can deduct the tax he previously paid on the input he has purchased. So while paying the tax on his output, he can deduct or take credit for the tax he paid while purchasing the inputs. So let us understand this with an example. As I've told that Mr. A is producing a shirt. What is the raw material for this shirt? For example, let us say cotton, which is the input. And he purchases this cotton at 100 rupees. And the government has levied a central government goods and services tax, the CGST, at 10%. So now the price of this cotton will be 110 rupees. Right. Now the manufacturer wants to sell his product. Using this cotton, he has produced a shirt and he wants to sell this shirt at 200 rupees. That means he added a value of 100 more rupees to the cotton he purchased and he produced his output. Now, the GST rate of this shirt is 12%. Let it be. Then the manufacturer, he has to pay 24 rupees for this 200 rupees shirt. But the manufacturer has already paid a tax of 10 rupees while purchasing his input of this cotton. So now he can claim to get this 10 rupees and he has to pay only remaining 14 rupees out of this total 24 rupees. So the 10 rupees the manufacturer has claimed is the input tax credit. So dear students, I have already given you questions regarding our consumer price index and also some questions related to Bhakti movement and Sufi movement. Try to answer those questions and we'll see answers for those questions in our tomorrow's video. And in our notes, I have given some more practice questions related to the topic and also given some mains practice questions and previous year questions. So dear students, you can access our notes in our civilsprep website now, and this is our official Telegram channel where notes for this video is available and notes is also available in our description bar below this video. And we have also provided you the timings for each and every topic. Thank you.